everyone.
Hi.
I'm Elizabeth Malone from Vermont Humanities, and welcome here this morning on behalf of Vermont Humanities and the Ilsley Library to a program called The Evolution of Stuck in Vermont with Eva Sollberger. So just a little information about this series of programs before we get started. Each year, Vermont Humanities hosts a fall festival for arts and humanities. This year's theme is 50 years forward. This is our 50th anniversary, so we're looking forward to the next 50 years. And we take this time to highlight the challenges that our communities face and also moments of celebration as we move forward into the next 50 years and try to create a more welcoming and resilient estate. You can learn more at vermonthumanities.org about the festival and the series Snapshot, which happens pretty regularly here at the Ilsley Library. The next live stream of a fall festival event will be with Norwich Public Library, and that will be with Erica Heilman, and she will be reflecting on the Rumble Strip podcast. And that's happening at 6:30 on October 16th. You can register online and get the link for that streaming event. And now to introduce our speaker, Eva Sollberger produces a bi-weekly video series called Stuck in Vermont for 7 days. Launched in February 2007, it airs every other Thursday on 7daysvt.com, and a shorter version plays during the Friday evening news at WCAX-TV. Eva has traveled around the state producing over 700 videos about art, culture, and quirky characters. Stuck in Vermont has racked up more than 5 million views online. The videos have won multiple awards from the Association of Alternative News Media and the New England Newspaper and Press Association. Eva lives in a Burlington farmhouse, and she loves telling stories. Thank you so much, Eva.
Thank you so much. Hello, that was a lovely introduction. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here. I'm happy to be here with you today, and I'm going to have a lot of images and some videos that I'm going to play for you. I'm going to start here. We're going to go to Plainfield. This is Jim and Jenny, and they're standing in what was once their backyard, and now it's sort of a mud pit. It used to be green and lush, and there's a chicken coop. Behind them is their home that they haven't lived in since the July 10th, 11th floods. And this is Eli, and he's standing next to what locals call the Heartbreak Hotel in Plainfield. It's hard to imagine, but where he's standing, there was a giant section of apartment house. It was about 5.5 apartments that were sitting there, and on those July 10th and 11th floods, it all went into the Great Brook. So Eli's apartment and everything in it went into the water. And unfortunately, 12 people were displaced that night, and some of their cats died in that flood. So this is Montpelier back in 2023. I'm just starting with all the happy images. When I started preparing for this presentation, I got pretty stuck because of all of this. The world is just so tumultuous right now. We've got Milton coming to Florida tonight. People are recovering from Helene. We've got natural disasters, climate change, wars, an upcoming election, a housing crisis, inflation, a high cost of living, substance abuse disorder. And in the midst of this tumultuous time, it feels sort of trivial to talk about a video series. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I believe in the power of the arts. I believe in storytelling, and I have devoted my life to doing this, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So since I was young, that's me at Shelburne Museum, I've been obsessed with documenting my life, the people around me, and the world as I see it. That's the cover of the Lamoille County Weekly. I was 8 years old, and I won the cover with my little comic of a girl dreaming of hot chocolate. Looks like presents and Christmas. I was very proud of that. This is where I grew up, Johnson, Vermont. And I grew up in the days before the internet and digital video. So to save you the trouble of doing the math, I'll just say I'm 51 years old. And if you can see that red building down in the corner in the left, That's my elementary school, Johnson Elementary School. Johnson's had a lot of flooding issues too, unfortunately, but we were just talking about their recovery, and they are doing a lot of wonderful things to move forward. So that's me as a weird, angsty teenager. I did feel stuck in Vermont when I was a teenager because I couldn't find people to connect with. I think if I'd had the internet, that would have helped a lot. So I left the state when I was 15. I went to college in Massachusetts. I went to California, Northern California, and I learned how to make videos. Digital video came into being. And when I turned 30, I moved back to Vermont to be closer to my family. Here's my family. And I made a cable access show for a number of years called the Deadbeat Club. I started making Stuck in Vermont because I wanted to meet people in the community. And as you already heard, I've been doing this for 17 years, for 7 days. I just picked up the new 7 days. I don't know if you've all seen the new 7 days. We are turning 30 in September, and stay tuned. You will hear more about our celebrations. I'm very proud of this paper and all the people who work there. This is Paula Routley, and she is the publisher and editor-in-chief of 7 Days. She has kept us afloat for almost 30 years in a very bleak media landscape. And this is a picture of us at Quebecor Media. It's where the paper is printed in Quebec. And we went there late at night on a Tuesday, which was last night. They do it every Tuesday. It's amazing. And we watched the paper get printed. So I'm going to play for you a short 1-minute video just to show you what the printing press is like. All of these videos have longer versions. I loved making this video because to me, the fact that this paper comes out every week is phenomenal. You know, I've seen it in action and I'm like, how does it happen? I don't know. A lot of things come together to make it work, and this is just one of them. But it's also vertical. If you watch my videos online, there's longer, like 8-minute landscape videos. So.
This week is the Quebec issue, and we're going to go behind the scenes and watch how an issue of 7 Days gets made.
We made it! And we just drove from Burlington to Mirabel. We're at Quebecor Media, and what are we going to do, Paula?
We're going to watch the paper get printed.
So we started printing at Quebecor on our birthday, 2018.
7 Days is our first Vermont customer, and they're on press every Tuesday night.
I love the press. It's a miracle what happens there and how quickly they do it.
It's all your paper, Paula!
We start the press up, and about an hour and a half later, we're finished printing it.
It's going so fast. You can barely recognize it's our paper.
That's your paper! Can you believe this? So that's just like one element of making the paper. That's just the printing it, then it's got to get driven by a trucker and then distributed. But then there's all the people writing the things and fact-checking the things and designing it. And it's kind of a miracle, like she said. I don't know how it gets done. I don't have a lot to do with doing it, so it was fun making this video for me. So I've worked full-time since 2007 for 7 days, and I get to tell stories for a living. When I started, someone warned me that I would run out of subjects and I should be careful. It's never going to happen. I think everyone has a story. So I can keep making videos forever. Here's someone with an interesting story. It's John Predum in Island Pond. So this video, I was saying, it's funny how some videos get more popular on certain sites. They go everywhere, on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere. This video was really popular on Facebook and Instagram. I think it has like 80,000 views on Facebook and over 100,000 on Instagram. I don't know why. Who knows? We are here in Island Pond in the backyard of John Predum, and today we are going to watch him design some of his snowshoe art.
I like puzzles too. I like three-dimensional puzzles. So this is kind of a big three-dimensional puzzle.
The best results are in the coldest weather, so.
9 degrees, feeling balmy out here.
They average between 3 and 4 hours, and they can be anywhere between 12,000 and 17,000 steps so far. I hear people always saying, I hate winter, and I think a lot of that's because people don't know what to do in the winter. I felt like this would inspire people to get outside. I had Spirograph when I was a kid, and this is kind of my homemade Spirograph out here.
Get outside, enjoy the winter, and hey, don't feel stuck in Vermont. It's great to be in Vermont. So that video, remember Howard? Howard was there, tromping through the snow. It was very cold that day, and Howard had to hold, he uses this spike that he puts in the ground, and Howard was the person holding it, because it was too icy for him to get it into the ground. Usually he would. Anyway, it's very exciting. So, I mentioned that I was a weirdo when I was a child. I'm still pretty weird, but the difference is, instead of feeling like an outsider, like I did when I was younger, I now feel like an insider, and I get to bring my camera places, and people actually invite me to come and cover them or walk in. This is in Montpelier, like a fashion walk. I don't know how it happened, but I'm grateful, and this is a comic that Alison Bechtel did. It's a sketch from her daily diary from when we were making the 500th, and there she is, Alison Bechtel. She's a cartoonist. She's my Shiro. And her graphic novel, Fun Home, was adapted into a Tony Award-winning musical. And she also won the MacArthur Genius Grant. I have covered Alison 3 times, and I'll talk more about that later. I would cover her another 3 times if she let me. So this is a bunch of data, which I'm not going to read out loud, but essentially what this is saying is internet video, there's a lot of it. A lot of people are making video for the internet, and a lot of people are watching video on the internet. I don't know about you, but I was at the breakfast table, you know, looking up stories about Milton on my phone. I read my iPad in the bath at night. You know, it's amazing how much we consume and how much of that is video content. And in my lifetime, I've seen the whole distribution of media change so drastically, and now it's you, it's all of us that are making this media. It's not sort of old-fashioned, you know, news media. And I think that's exciting. I love it. So I produce, shoot, and edit my videos. I dress up when I can, and I'm obviously pretty passionate about what I do. I think of them as miniature documentaries. And I do have my dream job, even when it's so cold I can't feel my face, as I couldn't that day. And to tell you a secret, although all my friends know this, I feel like every video is going to kill me because I try so hard to make it good and get to the authentic core of the story. So this is kind of a silly Stuck in Vermont. For the 500th episode, we made a musical, and Howard was there too. We had a whole crew. And this is sort of like Stuck in Vermont on steroids, but this is just a 33-second trailer I'm going to show you.
In a state filled with artistic, unique, and innovative people, one woman has documented it all. Join Eva Sollberger and a few familiar faces on a whirlwind musical adventure to find out the true meaning of being stuck in Vermont. The 500th episode of Stuck in Vermont premieres on August 18th at 7daysvt.com.
So that was ridiculous and really, really fun. I'm so glad I did that. And I couldn't have done it without this group of people. There were more people involved. We had an amazing team of people. Michael's in there. That's their son. I don't generally work with groups of people. Since the pandemic, I work alone. But I loved working with them, and I learn a lot when I do work with people. So just in terms of the numbers, this is the peony farm here, the Countryman Peony Farm. I shoot a couple of hours of footage, sometimes up to 6, and I make 3 versions of the video. One is like 5 to 8 minutes long. Then I make a medium version for television that's 4 minutes long, and then I make that 1-minute vertical version that you've been seeing, although I'm always experimenting. And I do a lot of editing, and that's my editing timeline. sort of looks like a puzzle or like Legos. So I spend a couple of days, sometimes 3, editing at a computer. And it's always really tricky for me to decide what to keep and what to get rid of. And I go back and forth on that. That's why it takes so long, just whittling it down, whittling it. And I shoot in this run and gun style, which means I'm not really taking a lot of time to set things up. I don't set up lights. I'm just running, I'm gunning, and trying to capture what I can without saying, hang on a minute, let me get the camera set up. And what's great is that for the past few years, I film with this little iPhone. I didn't think I could, so I started filming like little bits, and I was like, well, those look okay on TV. I'm going to keep filming. And now I film the entire video with my iPhone most of the time. There's a few things it's not great at. Audio is one of them. But I will tell you, these new phones, they are water resistant. And I found out how important that was on this day. I recently did a video in a canoe, flipped the canoe. Me and the phone were completely submerged, came back up, and I had, the 3.5 hours on this river making a video, and that phone worked. So, thank you, Apple. Here is, I'm just going to do a 1-minute video. This is some of the many people and places that I've met who are stuck in Vermont. So I use a lot of music, as was demonstrated in that video. That is Medela, a local band. I do not think they're together anymore. When I can, I use local bands and local music, and I love music. I just feel like it elevates the video, and I grew up on music videos, so to me, if I can add music, I'm gonna add music. So I have been trying for years to make a map of all the places I've been. And I've started, but this is only 400 episodes, and you can see in the sort of more pulled out version, the places I've gone outside of Vermont. And then inside Vermont, once I get this live, you can click on the little red blob, and then you can watch the video and see information about the video. But when I look at this, I just think, holy tamale, like how have I been to all those places? And I remember each one, it's like it connects to my life, and I'm thinking like, oh, that was when I was 35 and this thing happened, and like the Great Vermont Corn Maze, that's when I adopted my cat in 2009, and he's still alive. Like these things are like part of my life. Okay. So I do go all over the state, as I just showed. I think at this point I'm now meeting thousands of people. It was in the hundreds, and I think at this point we're talking thousands. I haven't actually counted, but I think that's accurate. And they're from so many different backgrounds, which is very important to me. I really do try to get into different pockets of people around the state and try to share their stories with a bigger audience. And yes, I act silly too, but I mean, look at those lovely girls. So Shayna Taub, she's a Waitsfield native. She just won 2 Tony Awards for Suffs, and that's a musical that she wrote and starred in. And I was lucky enough to catch up with her in 2016 when she was performing in Anais Mitchell's Hadestown, which also won a bunch of Tony Awards, as did Alison Bechdel's Fun Home. So Vermont and Tony Awards, I don't know what it is, but there's some good connection there. So when I first met Shayna, up above you have these pictures from 2004. We were both in Lyric Theater Company's production of Grease, and she's 16 years old there on the right. And she was playing Frenchie, and I was playing Cha-Cha. And the gentleman next to me, his name is David Janes, and he also has been on Broadway. And there was one other person in that show who also has been on Broadway. So that was a very, very amazing cast of people. So this is a little sadder. This is sadly, many people that I've covered have died And when that happens, I feel like it's more important than ever that we have a video record of them. And just about everyone on this placard are people I was actually personally friends with as well. Michael Hayes, Marguerite LeMay of House of LeMay. We ran into each other at every single party. Matt Thorson was my coworker. I'll talk about him more later. Reuben Jackson, we all know him as a DJ on Vermont Public. And Greg Blaisdell. Oh goodness, the screen's cut off. But anyway, wonderful artist, my neighbor. I worked with Joan Robinson, and Ed, I was just a fan of his work. And Christine and Charlie. I don't know if anyone's been to Charlie's Boathouse. You two have, right? In Burlington, has anyone ever been to the Our Family Boathouse? Maybe. Yeah, it's off the bike path. So a lot of people drive by, or like ride by, and they look at the sign, and they're like, Sadly, I think since their death, it's probably not going to be open again, but
Oh, Eva, I just
Yeah.
wanted to say
Yeah.
on the other screen,
yeah.
Joan used to be the children's librarian here.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Was that before she was at the Flynn?
Yeah.
She was lovely. I was, just working with her was amazing. Yeah, so thank you for telling me that. And here are sadly some more people who have passed away. But I feel like they left a big impact, and yeah, and are dearly missed, and I'm glad we have like some video remnants of them. So both Charlie and Chris, unfortunately, have died. These are brother and sister who ran this boathouse by the river. It's where the Winooski River meets Lake Champlain. And they are both amazing storytellers. They had amazing memories. They remembered everything, you know, like how much a bus cost in the 40s, you know, where they worked, what they were doing, how much a movie cost. And I kind of thought of them as my grandparents. I never told them that, but I did. And this is a little video about them.
We came from swamp people to people with a view.
We're here in Burlington, Vermont at the Our Family Boathouse.
Boats there, the crawlers are over there, minnows taken.
Nothing says summer like stopping in at Charlie's Boathouse. It's where the Winooski River meets Lake Champlain, and it's been here since the 1920s. And it feels like a walk back in time inside there.
Like I said, we're known all over the world.
We've had people come from Germany, Italy, France, India.
The people from all over the world. My mother and father loved the people. They treated all the kids as if they were their own kids. People would come all over to see my mother and father, and they couldn't wait to get down here. Sometimes the family stayed here.
But, you know, things were hard. People didn't have money, and the old folks had to fish.
And they was never worried about a meal. Because like I said, my mother always had a kettle on. My father loved the water. He just wanted to be here. And if it wasn't for our good friends, this place would be gone or shut down. We'd just have to lock up.
That place was just so unique. And I feel like with them gone, just a piece of Burlington history is gone too. So, I mean, I could have filmed them for endlessly and never, they were just a wealth of fun stories. So these are some young people from King Street Center, and they were visiting WCAX to see their video get played. At the heart of storytelling is connection, and a video works when you have an authentic connection with the subjects and then share their story with a wider audience. 7 Days has a media partnership with WCAX, the local CBS affiliate, and you can see shorter versions of the videos every other Friday on the 4 o'clock and the 6 o'clock news. And that's a whole different audience. That's been fun. And I've been on there since 2011, so people come up to me a lot and say, I saw you on TV versus the internet. Totally different. Yeah, I have that. Yeah, you were you there that day? I know Howard was there that.
We got some of those.
Yeah, this The Amazing Knights. This is Terry and Will Knight of Williamstown. Will was quite a character, and he was called the Spiderweb Guy. Did anyone ever go to the Spiderweb Guy? Yes, such a fun guy. And that piece of artwork is hanging in my house. I love it. He made art out of spider webs. And sadly, Will died in 2017, but everyone remembers him. Once you meet someone like Will, same as Charlie and Chris, you know, you just remember them. They're special. So this was at the CCV commencement. I gave the CCV commencement speech in 2015, and there were 3,000 people there, which was terrifying. And I think that's why the flag was so big, so like everyone could see the flag, because that was the biggest flag I've ever seen in my life. And I feel like after people, see me on TV, they watch me online, they feel like we know each other, which is good, and that allows them to trust me. And when I hold a camera in their face, they let me, which is, couldn't do my job without that. So it makes my work better. Now this is a very muddy video in Huntington, and again, it's only a minute long, but it's going to be loud, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Batesville's a good place to come get stuck.
Yeah, we took it through the mud a couple times and it got stuck. And today we are officially getting stuck.
And my truck definitely got stuck. So it fits perfect. Every year somebody's truck gets a little bigger, goes a little better.
What you do it? I'm only 10. Why are you driving cars? There's no rules in mud.
It's all family. Once you get in the crowd, it's all a bunch of family. Try to get here. Ain't nobody gonna save this place tonight. Lock me up and let it run away. Ain't nobody gonna save this place tonight. Lock me up and let it run away.
So, does it get more Vermont than that? And I wouldn't normally go to something like that. So again, that's an example of, if I didn't have a reason to go there with my little camera, I probably wouldn't have experienced that. So, I used to do a lot more videos. I did a video every week, just like 7 Days comes out every week. The first 600 were weekly, and I found that schedule just punishing. I felt like I was doing stories just because I needed another story. So I was doing like a lot of events, and I don't find events as interesting as really like getting to know people. So I'm very grateful I got to slow down, and now I do 2 videos a month, which is much better. I can take my time, I can find an interesting story with some meat to it, and I don't have to pull all-nighters anymore. I'm not getting any younger. I did a lot of all-nighters in the beginning, and I don't do them anymore. So that is my preference. I trust my gut when it comes to finding stories or choosing stories. It has to be visual. I love working with young people. They do say the darndest things, and I am a childless cat lady, so hanging out with young people, it's so much fun. I love it. And I am also shy and a bit of a homebody, so, like the mud bog, I would never have gone to that if left to my own druthers. So I wouldn't have done a lot of this stuff. Like, I wouldn't have met Abe Lincoln. I got to drive in the pace car at Thunder Road, and I went up in a hot air balloon. I did not like it. I liked the glider, not the hot air balloon. We all have our things. But it's good to go out of your comfort zone, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to bring people along with me. These are lovely friends that I've made over the years, again, through my work. And I work a lot, so luckily I get to be social when I'm on the job. This is Jen Tran with her daughter Lee holding up subtitles. Jen has a nail salon in South Burlington. She came to America from Vietnam in 2000. English is not her native language. So these subtitles helped her feel more comfortable with the filming process. And I am always all about comfort. I want people to feel comfortable. If they aren't sure they want to do the interview, I say, let's just not do it, because the last thing I want to do is put someone on the internet and have lots of people say stuff about them and comment if this is something that makes them nervous. So not only did I feature the nail salon, but I also featured Vietnamese New Year, and they introduced me to the very strong Vietnamese community in the greater Burlington area. So that was a treat for me too. This is Lee, and we became friends over the years, and we got to see her married recently, me and my friend Suzanne, which was very exciting. So this is Rockfire in Barrie. Has anyone been to Rockfire? Still happening. It's amazing. It's so much fun. I try to stick to content that fits my unique voice. I'm not the TV news. I'm not a hard news source, and I don't do voiceovers. I just don't like them. I try not to. I make my videos fast and furiously with lots of rough edges. You've probably seen some rough edges already in these videos. This is Trent's Bread in Westford. And for some reason, this did well on YouTube.
People really identify with the bread. Try to develop a bread that I've only had in my dreams.
Totally, we're staying up till 2:30 a.m. and we will get stuck in Vermont again real soon.
So I did stay up all night for that video, and it did not go well. I think I slept the whole next day. It's funny how things you could do when you were younger, you're like, oh, that doesn't work anymore. Has anyone tried Trent's Bread? They sell it at the co-op. What do you think?
It's fabulous. It's all air, and that's, I guess, what the baker wants.
Yeah.
A lot of airspace and texture.
Interesting. I love the sound of just the slapping of the dough. Like I just.
He's so strong.
He's incredibly strong. Yeah, just watching him. He does that all night.
Cambridge store.
Every night. They sell it at the co-op too. So this is Cabot on Joe's Pond. I don't know if you've ever placed a bet. They bet when the ice is going to give out, which is so fun. That's what that orange flag is all about. They're waiting for it to fall in. Luckily, it did not fall in when I was sitting there. So there's lots of stories out there, lots of storytellers. I don't know if that's something any of you are interested in. I mean, that's what's so fun. We can all do this now. With our phones, if you have a smartphone, you can make a video, you can tell a story. These are some tips that have worked for me. I'll point out a few of them. Perfectionism is something that I inherited from my parents, the quest for it, and I just don't think it's very good for an artist. I think, you know, it's inevitable. You try not to, but it's inevitable you'll make mistakes. And when I look back at the old videos now, there's all these rough edges, but the heart is there. And I kind of have learned to say, like, okay, that's all right. You know, like that sound transition, not great. The lighting, not so good. But, you know, the story is good. And that's what counts. So you just like, I think, let yourself experiment and try things. Self-criticism, I do that a lot. I don't think it's really helpful to the artistic process. And I think it stops you from putting something out there. You know, nowadays I put out a video and then it gets comments on YouTube. It gets comments on Facebook and, you know, Instagram and on WCX's website. And I'm like, oh God, am I gonna read these things? Mostly they're nice, but then when you get that mean one, you're just like, oh. But it's just, you know, if you're gonna put out work, that's the way it's gonna go. But ultimately, whatever your voice is, it's yours. No one else has it. So if that's something that you wanna do, I say, put some content out there. This guy was a big content creator. Matthew Thorson, he was a photographer in Burlington. Really talented, he photographed everybody for decades. And we were co-workers at 7 Days. When Matt was dying of cancer in October of 2018, I asked him if we could make a video about the experience, and only Matt would say yes to something like this. And this is just again, a snippet from that video. Ooh.
And I'm thinking that it's going to be actually easier to die than I think. Maybe. I've seen a couple other people die and they look pretty good.
People were laying on the sidewalk. I was like, holy mackerel, is that guy dead? And I take his picture.
forcing myself all the time to make pictures that I know are ugly sometimes. And everybody who looks at that, they're like, I really feel like the experience made it easier for me to deal with the death than harder, even though it was really gross. You just don't know what to do. So it's like, just like you with your thing, what do you do? Just do the camera thing.
Yep, and that's basically what I do. Matt died a few months after we made this video, and we all miss him all the time, think about him regularly. So like Matt, I can't help it. When something happens to me, I make a video about it. That's how I deal with it. That's how I process it. I had an ovarian cyst removed. I made a video about it. I had a cataract surgery. I made a video about it. The doctor who did my surgery now has all the people coming in for cataract surgery watch the video. So people come up to me all the time and say, like, cataracts, I have this, and let's talk about cataracts. I will talk about cataracts to anybody. You know, it's the surgery is very, very easy, is basically what the video shows. It's just how I process things. And when I'm dying, if I have the ability, I will probably make a video about it. That's what I do, you know. This is Eva McKend, who is amazingly talented. You can find her on CNN now. I get not a ton of views on the videos. I don't do a video and get like 1 million views on every video. But for me, the sign that they're getting somewhere is just feedback from people. You know, if people come up to me in the grocery store, they email me, if they leave comments, then I know that they're doing something out there. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be these people who are making like 2 million view videos. And in a way, I think I'm better off where I am, just sort of like, if I had like tons of negative comments, I don't think I could do this. So gear, if you're interested in gear, the social media platforms are always changing. You have to update all your computers and your editing software and your camera. All of that's going to change constantly, but if you can tell a good story, it really doesn't matter. You will adapt to the platform. So scheduling and producing videos takes a lot of time, and I generally work weekends. I generally work all the time, which is okay with me. That's the St. Albans Raid down there, and that is a dress that I rented from Lyric Theater Company. And here are a bunch of really talented young Vermonters, and it's been so fun, again, just to watch them grow up in different videos and see them out there doing interesting things, like Oscar Williams was in the Broadway version of Fun Home, and Lindsay Richardson, we're going to talk about her a little bit in this video, which is 2.5 minutes long.
So in 2007, the year that I started making Stuck in Vermont, I met a very young dancer named Lindsay Richardson from Berlin. She said her dream was...
My goal would be to go on tour with an artist and travel around the world. I found out a few days ago that I'm going on tour with Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
We got to watch on Facebook as she went all over the planet, and she got to dance with Justin Timberlake every single night. Back in 2012, Seth Jarvis and his original play Icon got stuck in Vermont. It was starring his brother Nathan Jarvis. So that video got seen by somebody in Germany, and since then Icon has been produced in Germany, which is one of those very exciting ways that you see the video kind of have a life of its own. Tiny house builder Peter King, who got stuck in Vermont not once but twice, and since then he's flown all over the world building tiny houses. That is an example of the power of video. You just never know who will see it or what doors it may open up for you. Okay, this is the last story I'm going to tell you. It's also my favorite Stuck in Vermont story, partially because it's about my good friend Allison Bechtel, who is an amazingly talented cartoonist. Back in 2008, I visited Allison at her home in Bolton, and during that video she was talking about her award-winning graphic novel Fun Home, and Allison said,
my father was gay and I was, and we both grew up in the same little Pennsylvania town, and he killed himself and I became a lesbian cartoonist.
Lisa Crone and Janine Tesori took 7 years to fine-tune Fun Home into a musical. During the show, there was a line early on where adult Allison says,
Caption: My dad and I both grew up in the same small Pennsylvania town, and he was gay and I was gay, and he killed himself. And I became a lesbian cartoonist.
So recently I Facebook messaged Lisa Crone, and she was gracious enough to write back, and she indeed confirmed that that line came from the 2008 Stuck in Vermont that I made about Allison. So to have that direct connection to a show that means so much to me is profound.
So, if you noticed, I was blurry. Yes, embrace your mistakes. So, because I don't care, I was connected to Fun Home, so that's awesome. So this is Joanna and Noah. They moved to Vermont from New York during the pandemic with their 3 rescue cats. Lovely people. I feel like they're great additions to the state. I did turn off commenting because the comments veered into a negative area. It's a sensitive topic. I understand that, but I'm glad they got stuck here. And people sometimes ask me, well, if you don't want to be here, why don't you just leave? They assume the title is negative. And I understand where that question is coming from. Just a little side note, this was the penguin plunge in 2015. The day after we plunged, they said, oops, we released sewage into the water right before your plunge. So that was like, there I am underwater, but I was fine. So in British slang, when you get stuck in, you start doing something with a lot of energy. I feel like that kind of applies to what I do. And here's my British accent. It's not very good, but the food looks good, grab a plate and get stuck in. When they say that on British shows, I was like, stuck in, yeah, that's awesome. So I feel like it can be a hybrid thing. You know, I did not like being stuck in Vermont as a teenager, but I like it now. I mean, why would I spend 17 years doing this if I didn't like it? I'd be a little loose in the head. So my mom here is 90 years old. I've done multiple videos about her. Our time together is so precious that I document her as much as I can. And this is a 1-minute video clip of my mom talking during one of those videos.
We came together, I believe, to talk about getting old and possibly dying, and the possibly dying seems to be a little bit closer because of the COVID-19 virus, which seems to be taking a lot of older people.
My mom has lived through the Depression, World War II, 4 marriages, 2 kids.
You never know what's coming. I think I grew up as a different person because I grew up in the Depression. This was in the new parts of Detroit. Well, certainly the Second World War was similar to this in that everyone was constantly worried and upset, and most people had either fathers or sons overseas that were in danger all of the time. I've experienced so many wonderful things. I don't really feel like it's a problem dying at all for me, and I'm not afraid of it the way some people are.
Anything you've learned in your 86 years that you could pass on to people?
I always knew that working hard and following my dreams and working hard would get me somewhere. I knew that since I was a little girl.
So she's pretty awesome, and we live together. She's perhaps watching at home. So I want to do more stories like that, more personal stuff, weirder stuff, and I'm not sure what yet, but family stuff, that's my goal. I feel like what I do is kind of like weaving, and all these stories sort of become part of the complex fabric of our state, and maybe even our world. I do get comments from all over the world, which is crazy. My obsessive need to document is satisfied, and I also connect with people, and it's meaningful for me to have found a place in our community and to feel like I have a purpose. And sometimes I think that's what we're missing in our society: purpose, connection, and meaning. And I spent most of my 20s really searching, trying to find it somehow. And I'm lucky in that I found it in a career. And then I work with these amazing women and am friends with them in my community. So this is me at the computer, not smiling. I don't always smile. I'm quite a quiet person who spends a lot of time at the computer most of the time. And these are my neighbors, Jennifer and Greg. Unfortunately, Greg did die earlier this year. They're wonderful printmakers, and I made a video about them, and they were surprised. They were like, oh, you know, they had seen my videos, and they thought they were fun, but they were like, oh, you're really, okay. There's a lot of emails going back and forth. We're doing multiple shoots, and this is quite an experience. It's not really that fun. Like, I'm gonna ask you a million questions. There's like an email thread, 60 emails deep. People are kind of a little shocked by how intense it is, but now I'm so glad that we have this document of the two of them working together. So it was worth it in the end. And we met so many people today. What unites them? I think it's just a passion for what they do. It's enthusiasm, it's curiosity. There are so many people who are just interested in life, whether you're mud bogging or baking bread or drawing comics or making snow art or, you know, singing like Myra Flynn or, you know, Steve Wish Shannon here is a break dancer. And this is landscape painter Eric Tobin. He's in Johnson here. Where would we be without the artists and the dreamers and the storytellers to show us where we have been and what's going to come next? So I wanted to congratulate Vermont Humanities for 50 years of amazing work, and I'm so excited to be part of this speaker series, and I'm winding down here. I think I'm close to the end. So I don't know what the future holds. The teaser said I would talk about that. I have no idea. We have a lot of challenges ahead. I hope that we can join together as a community. And we were just talking about Johnson. You know, as these trials come, we have to see how as a community we can support each other. And this image is interesting to me because it was a walk in the woods with the Shelburne Poet Laureate Rick Bissett and a class of 5th graders from the Shelburne Community School. And if you can see this little girl who is being carried, she didn't wear socks and the snow is very deep. And that is her teacher carrying her along the walk. And I just feel like that is what we are going to have to do. When we forget socks, someone's going to have to pick us up and carry us. And that's the future, I hope. That's what I'm hoping for. East Barnard, a wonderful town, they get stuck in the mud there. They have insane mud, but they tell each other about the mud. They say, like, don't go on that road, go on this road. And I feel like that tight-knit rural community is what's going to save us, and I'd rather be stuck here than anywhere, you know. Whether it's muds or floods, you know, at least we have each other. And that's my time. I think we're going to do some Q&A if anybody has questions, and also there's some swag up here if anybody wants stickers or buttons or anything like that. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to stop talking now.
Sure.
Yes?
How many pair of glasses do you have?
Well, that's a good question. Before my cataract surgery, I had about 50. And my vision had stabilized, so I was like, yes, I'm going to get all the glasses. And I would change them depending on where I was going and what I was doing. But now my vision is almost perfect. It's horrible. So I don't actually have to wear glasses, but I just like glasses. Yeah. So now I only have like 3. A good question. How many pairs do you have?
1. But I had the same surgeon you did.
Oh, you did? Did he show you the video?
Yeah, oh sure he did. I can't think of his name.
Isn't it McMillan or something like that? Yeah. Go to Dr. McMillan, get your cataracts removed. Oh, good. Yeah, I was terrified, but it was so easy peasy. Don't worry about it. No problem. And plus you can see better, so that's worth it.
Right away, too.
Yeah, yeah. Yes?
I've often wondered how unique Stuck in Vermont is. But do you have brothers and sisters in other states that you're in touch with and communicate ideas that do similar kinds of things?
I wish I did. You know, I'm sure there are people doing this, but I just don't know them. I would love to meet them. I mean, there are, since I've been doing this, when I started, if you Googled Vermont, the YouTube videos that would come up would always be me, because there just wasn't a lot of Vermont content 17 years ago on YouTube. Now, there are tons of people, very popular influencers making Vermont content, and I know them, but I don't know anyone who does what I do. There probably are people who do what I do. I know people like kind of similar, but it's definitely, they have their own thing. You know, everybody has their own slant. I wouldn't say specifically like me, though. But if you find anyone, let me know. Yeah. It's like 7 days. They say that we're like a unicorn. There's not many free weeklies out there that are like this full of content, you know? It's just, you kind of, there's not a lot of that happening, unfortunately. So, yes.
You've made so many videos. It seems like many of them, you have a direct connection with them, or you know to go and want to film them. But I'm thinking not all of them. So where do you get the other ideas? Do people feed you ideas? Or do you want ideas?
Oh, I always want ideas. Yeah, for sure. I do get a lot of pitches. So I get them from everywhere. You know, there's the email, so tons of email pitches, and then social media, like, you know, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, and that's hard for me because it's like keeping track of it all and then like trying to organize it and trying to figure out what you think will work. So usually I'll talk to them more and try and figure out, is this gonna work as a video? Because the worst thing is if you show up and then you're like, oh no, 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 and that's happened, and that's the worst. Back when I was doing it every week, I did do some stories that were not very good. And once you start filming, you're like, oh gosh, how am I gonna like stretch it into a video? You don't wanna be in that position. So I try to, up front, really like ask a lot of questions and figure out if it works. And you know, if it works with my style, because maybe it would work with someone, you know, on the TV news might be a better fit for them. So I get pitches from everywhere. Sometimes it's totally random, like, you know, something I'll see on Facebook and I'll be like, what is that? And hey, is there a story there? And all over the place. But a lot of them are people I know or things I hear about from people I know. It's all over the place. But I always want more pitches, so I can't guarantee I'll do it, but I always want to.
You can do one about Ilse Library moving across.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know this library was going to go through this huge, I mean, we were just talking about the Johnson Library that's moving. Yeah. I might do a piece on that because that's my hometown, but libraries are like the heart of the community. So I feel like that's so interesting. Like, how does the community, and like you were saying during the pandemic, you know, you had to get books in this weird way, and like, how do you adapt in a situation like that? I think it's interesting. Yeah. Did you have a question?
I'm just thinking when you were putting tips up here and looking at your audience here for, you know, whether or not we're going to be going out and doing this work, that you're such a great fit for education. Is that happening for you at technical colleges? Is that anything you're interested in? Or also, my other thing is, like, I feel like Made in Vermont needs to make an episode about you.
Yeah.
Just a couple of comments.
No, that's great. I do think about that. And that's actually when I was working with Joan Robinson, who we saw a while back. She was an amazing educator. And I actually got a job at the Flynn with her thinking, like, is this something I could do or would do? And I don't really know. I've spoken to a lot of classes, elementary and high school. And I mean, they could teach me things because, you know, it's amazing, you know, with these things that they can make videos and that they're making videos and posting videos. And, you know, I'm still learning like the TikTok platform and how to do stuff like that. And so that's a good question. And I have thought about that and I'm not entirely sure. It's hard. I'm just so used to kind of doing my own thing that it's hard to imagine, like, would I fit into the education system, which, to be honest, I did not love high school. Elementary school was fine, college was fine. High school, not so great. So the idea of being in high school, I don't know if that would work for me, but
No, I don't mean being, but I mean just, well, whatever.
yeah, no, I mean,
Anyway, thank you so much.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And I don't know about Made in Vermont. The person who does it changes. So, and I think because we have that connection, it would be too, you know, I'm already on the news. So, but I love Made in Vermont. That's a great show too. So, yeah. And Super Seniors. There's all sorts of fun shows out there locally. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sounds like we're good. Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate it.